This
Good evening,
conference will
everyone.
now be recorded.
Welcome to this webinar. I hope you are all safe and healthy during this pandemic situation. So, Department of EC from J. New College has planned to organize the seminar on formal verification, the significance in VLSI design flow and the system Verilog assertions. And I convey my thanks to my colleague Sititi Tamireddy, who came forward to take up this, and he wants to share his ideas because he's having very good exposure with respect to this VLSI design. So I hope this webinar will add more information, and later you can work upon. And during this situation, it is necessary to have this interaction with the technologies, and then we need to understand this is the only way that we can do. I convey my thanks to all the participants who have taken the initiation to join this webinar based on our request. And I welcome you all once again. Now, I request Sri T. Tamireddy to take over and then proceed for the further discussion on the topic of interest. Over to Sri T. Tamireddy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, sir, for kind information introduction. And good evening, everyone. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar on formal verification. As I see, there are so many students who have registered for this webinar. So let's make it student-centric than anything else, because students are the ones who are in requirement of these kind of newer technologies. So let me start my presentation. Just wait a minute. Is my screen audible to you? Pawan, you may respond. Is the screen audible? Sorry, visible? PPT?
Yeah, it is visible, Tamireddy.
Yeah,
you can proceed.
Okay, it's not running in full screen. So anyway, is it running in full screen? Full screen mode?
No, sir.
Like, just a moment, please.
Go for Shift F5, then if you press and
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Myself, I'm T. Tamireddy, Associate Professor in Pullareddy Engineering College, Department of ECE. This is what we received. This is my first slide. This is what about registrations. About 60% of the students registered and 30% are assistant professors. So let's make it, like I mentioned, it's a student-centric webinar, right? And these are the contents. So first, let me briefly explain about VLSI design flow and where the formal verifications position in VLSI design flow, and what are the traditional methods we have been following for verification, and what are the hardware, software methods and emulation methods that we have been using to speed up the simulation process. And after that, we'll go to formal verification introduction. And after that, assertion-based verification is one of the widely used type of formal verification. Before that, there is formal equivalency verification. This has been there in the industry for many years. So first, I'll explain about formal equivalency verification. After that, there are recent development, that is assertion-based verification. For making assertion-based verification, the system Verilog assertions have been formulated. So we will be seeing quite a small introduction about system Verilog assertions also. After that, brief demo will be there on one of the good tool, and after that my conclusions will be there. These are the contents. So like this is most simplified ASIC design flow. Synthesis, placement, and routing. These are the major steps in any ASIC design flow. But it is not that simple. So the next coming two slides will show you in more better perspective. This is synthesis process will take the HDL, that is hardware description languages, and convert into netlist. And that netlist will be given to the placement and routing tools, that is called physical design in VLSI terminology. And finally, there is a GDS file will be generated. That GDS file will be given to the foundry, and the foundry people like TSMC, UMC, they make the ICs for us. So this is very simplified ASIC design flow. Only 3 steps have been shown, but these 3 major steps. So there is a synthesis tool, there is a placement tool, there is a routing tool. All these are EDA tool, electronic design automation tools. Okay. So this is slightly in detail. This particular diagram is very popular diagram. I have taken from a textbook called ASIC by Michael Sebastian Smith, and this is a very standard diagram. So this explains all the steps that are major steps that are there in ASIC design flow. And so far there is no word about a verification. There is no word about formal verification. So where is verification and where is formal verification? The next diagram will tell you the position of verification itself. So this is a detailed ASIC design flow. I'm not going through all that, and only my idea is to show you the verification, where the verification fits in. So this is the verification. This much box is given for verification, and this box is for formal verification. So one of the formal verification, logic equivalency check. So this is one of the formal verification check. So another important static timing analysis. This is where all the timing requirements are, whether they are meeting or not meeting, all these things are verified here, and the verification is done here, and all the steps that I mentioned in the previous slides, they are all going to here. But not to forget, there are so many feedback paths. So the feedback paths, always if there are any errors, we call them are bugs. If there are any bugs are found, so we have to go back to the previous stage. We have to see the design why the bug has come. We have to modify the design again. We have to redo all the steps. So in doing this from top to bottom, from VLSI design flow, the later if you find the bug, the bigger the problem, obviously, right? So if you later I found a bug, so it becomes quite difficult to remove that bug. So that is the reason why verification and logic equivalence checking are very important, play an important role in the removal of all these bugs or problems in the design. So next slide. So the next slide, this is the traditional dynamic testing method. So this is what people have been doing this. We have been doing actually. So many students from G. Pullareddy Engineering College also registered for this course. So let me say a few things about this. Those who are in the 6th semester, you have not done this lab so far. That is HDL lab. You will be doing in the 7th semester. Those who are in the 8th semester, they have already done this lab, including the test benches. So that is the reason why we call it a traditional method. This has been for a while, this method of simulation. What do we do here? This is a device under test. This is a device under test, and we apply the stimulus. We take the responses, and we'll see if it is passed or failed. So if it is a fail, certainly we have to go back to the design under test and rectify the errors. Again, the entire process must be repeated. So this stimulus, responses, everything we have to write in another file called test bench. So test bench is called a wrapper, otherwise it is called a wrapper. So test bench is one file, design under test is another file. These two files we simulate, and we'll come to a conclusion if the response is, if the design is passed or failed. You will see now the importance of verification is shown in the bottom diagram. So if you see here, so the verification is given this much space. This space tells you how much resources and how much human effort is required for verification and how much importance given to the verification. So that is what this is all about. So first thing, design specification, we'll write HDLs, that is hardware description language like VHDL or Verilog in terms of RTL, register transfer logic, and we will verify them. We'll process it to synthesis tool and we'll go to the placement and routing. After that, we'll get the layout. Okay, so I hope you by now you know what is the importance of verification in the VLSI design flow. And normal simulation that we have been doing in the labs take care of these things. So test execution, simulation, emulation, FPGA platform. These are the different ways to speed up the simulation. Simulation process is a very slow process, especially if the design is very complex. It might take weeks and weeks of time to complete the simulation. And emulation and FPGA solutions are slightly advanced methods or slightly improved methods where the simulation speed can be improved. So failures may be detected long after it occurred. So that is the reason why simulation takes a lot of time. And code coverage only is one of the important issue with the simulation. And moreover, I want to tell you at the beginning itself, my topic is formal verification, but I am not anything against the simulation, traditional method. Traditional method is still the best method, but the formal verification is one of the viable alternate for the traditional method. Where simulation fails, the traditional method fails, the formal verification can take over. So I want to give you an illustration. How is it formal verification is different from the normal simulation? So code coverage and functional coverage, these two are the important parameters to consider for the failure or success of the design. Code coverage is how much of your design is being verified, how much code you hit with the help of test cases. That is code coverage. Next is functional coverage. How much of the functionality of your design you have been verified with the help of your test cases. So code coverage is not a problem, but functional coverage is a problem. So if functionality is not verified fully, so certainly the design, we cannot say confidently that this design will work for any type of input. We cannot say that. So code coverage, some extent we can achieve, but functional coverage, very difficult to meet that. Okay. So bug detection, in the case of simulations, it is inherently sequential process. So one bug after the other bug, you have to find it. Okay. To find the bug, you have to give the test bench, or you have to give the test vectors. So you have to drive the inputs to your design so that the bug will be exposed. Otherwise, the bug will not be exposed. So bugs can hide behind other bugs. So that means if you remove one bug, one more bug will show up. So that is one of the problem with the existing simulation method. So if you know the history, if you see the history, the Pentium floating point division bug costed Intel company $475 million in 1990s. So they have to get back all the chips back, and they have to replace the chips in the computers wherever in the world. Okay, that is a problem. And the floating point division bug could not be found out with the traditional methods of simulation. So that is where there is opportunity for formal verification. So this is we'll be using this terminology quite frequently in this webinar. So there are something called false positive and false negative. What is false positive? Let us say. So for example, design is bad, but you say the verification engineer says the design is passed. That is called false positive. And what is false negative? False negative is the design is good, but verification engineer says it is failed. So these two are very big problems. So false positives and false negatives both are possible with the case of simulations. I'm not trying to say formal verification is good in this. Formal verification also suffers with the false positives and false negatives. That is the nature of verification. And that is the reason why if you just read these statements, verification can show only the presence of errors, not the absence of errors. Okay, so we have to make all the errors to visible. We have to spend enough time for the errors to come. Okay, so this is typical environment most people can easily relate with. So there is a text file that is your VHDL file, and compiler like ModelSim, etc., Vivado, Xsim, etc., and compiler and simulator like ModelSim and Vivado, etc., simulators, and I apply the stimulus and command file if it is required, or GUI, and I'll get the waveforms and I'll get the tabulation output. So by comparing the waveforms and tabulation methods with the standard outputs, I'll come to know whether the design is correct or not. So this is the standard method that we follow. So what is important here is we are applying this stimulus. We are applying this stimulus. So this is most important. This stimulus is missing in the case of formal verification. We don't apply this stimulus. Okay. So without applying stimulus, we are going to verify the design. So the better the stimulus, the better will be your finding the bugs in the case of simulation. In the case of formal verification, it is a completely different approach. When it comes to formal verification, I'll explain when the slide comes. So now let's move on to the next slide. So this is the design. So this is the design, design intent, and this is the design, and this is the test bench or formal verification. So once the verification is done, so we will say it is passed or failed. So this is implementation and this is specification. The implementation and specification, these two are verified, against each other, and we'll come to know whether the design is passed or failed. So I was talking about speeding up the simulation, because simulation process is a very slow process. It takes only 10, it does only approximately 10 clocks per second. So to speed up, we use something called emulator and FPGA prototyping. We do, with the help of emulation or FPGA prototyping, we use existing hardware to speed up the simulation process. So this is real hardware. So real hardware speed is in real time, but debugging is poor. We cannot debug that. So debugging is excellent with the help of simulator, and debugging is somewhat in between moderator. So still simulator scores over emulation and FPGA in terms of debugging features, but it can run at faster. They can run at faster rates compared to simulation. So this is next comes to the formal verification. This is the actual topic. All the previous slides, what I was trying to say is what is the traditional method of verification, how the verification is done in traditional methods. So now comes the formal verification. So this is the definition. I'm not going into the definition. I'll just explain what it means. Okay, 100% coverage of large subsets of the design. First, before that, the most important point I already explained to you is no test bench, no test vectors. So there are no test benches, no test vectors. So who will supply the test vectors? That is the question. The tool itself will take all the possible test vectors. The tool itself verifies for all the possible test vectors and will tell you whether the given property, that is a given assertion, is passed or failed, given property is passed or failed. So that is the good thing about this particular formal verification. So it is highly mathematical implementation. So it completely works on the divide and conquer rule. It will reduce the implementation into various stages, and it will try to reduce that stages into usable smaller fragments of design, and it will work on the smaller fragments of the design. That's how it is able to find the bugs. And 100% coverage on large subsets. It is, I cannot say 100% coverage is guaranteed, but it will always tries to go to the 100%, towards the 100%. Can constrain the logic. So as I already said, there are no test vectors. All the possible test vectors are taken by the tool itself, assumed by the tool itself. But if the number of test vector combinations are too high, so what happens is the tool will take large amount of time, large amount of memory, and that is the reason why there is something called assumptions. I can set up some assumptions on the tool saying that these are the possible values for the inputs. I will provide only a range, so that I will reduce the burden on the tool. So I can pass on assumptions to the tool so that the job of the tool becomes easier. So no regression simulation, you don't have to run several times. Once you run it, so you will come to know what is the bug is. So shorter time, lower effort. So this is just read this question. Will the model stuck forever without reaching a desired state? This question can be answered by formal verification, but not the normal simulation, because normal simulation to answer, I have to drive the inputs. Okay, so here I'm not driving the inputs. It will, for this question to answer, it will assume its own inputs from the available possible combinations. It will tell me whether am I going to stuck forever in the particular state. So this kind of answers can be found out by the formal verification. So that is the reason why I would say this is viable alternate. This is not complete alternate. Okay, it is suffering its own shortcomings, but it is coming up in recent days with the recent support of tools and languages. Formal verification is coming up in a big way. That is the whole point of the slide. So which is better way of finding the bug? So this will clearly tell you what is the approach each one is doing. So the first one here in the left hand side, he is taking a needle to point the bug. Okay, so the bug could be anywhere on the board, so it need not be on the bullseye. So anywhere on the board, he is trying to find the bug with the help of a needle. Whereas in the second case, he is trying to find the bug with the help of a some paintbrush. So there is a higher scope for him in the second case to find the bug than the first case. In the first case, you have to probe it. Otherwise, he'll not be able to find the bug. In the second case, he is probing everywhere. Okay, with the wider scope. So this is the formal. Second is the formal verification approach, and the first is the normal approach. So this is the first diagram. Left-hand side diagram is the normal approach. You have to pinpoint the simulation, and formal verification will wholeheartedly complete. In ideal case, full coverage is achieved because all the possible cases are covered. But ideally, since it is a mathematical tool, it is working on divide and conquer rule. It will more justify the ideal case almost to the near whatever possible extent. In real life, this is the coverage that we get. So next is formal verification types. What are the different types of formal verification? These are broadly categorized as 3 types. Formal equivalency verification. I am not seeing the chart box. If there are any, I'm slightly new to this environment. Pawan can help me if there are any questions there.
Not yet, sir. There is no question in the chat box till now. You can ask them to post the question in the chat box.
Yeah, please, if there are any questions, you can ask in the chat box. Am I going okay, or students out there? Yeah, these are the formal verification types. There are 3 types of formal verification. Formal equivalency verification. This is the first type of verification. This has come this is what we have been using in VLSI design flow. So I'll explain the difference among the 3. Formal property verification. The second one is the pure formal verification actually. The third is assertion based. It is a mixed and to suit the modern engineers, that is verification engineers and designers can very easily use this assertion based verification, especially if you are using the traditional methods. So it combines the traditional method approach and also formal verification. It groups together in the assertion based verification. That is where my concentration is on this webinar. So first I'll explain about the formal equivalency checking. But formal property, this is some part is actually taken into FEV, some part of formal verification from formal property verification is taken into ABV. So the B type, second type I'm not covering. The first type and third type if we cover, you will come to know what is formal verification, pure formal verification is. So the next, this table shows some of the leading EDA tool vendors. I have not mentioned which ones are formal equivalency verification, which ones are assertion based. So just I mentioned the leading tool vendors. Cadence has Incisive, Jasper Gold, and Mentor Graphics has Questa, ModelSim, etc. So IBM, their own proprietary tools are there, rule-based Bullseye. They don't sell it for other companies. So like this, these are the three types of verification. The first, I'm going to concentrate on formal equivalence verification. Okay. So what is formal equivalence verification? So it is trying to compare two abstractions. Before that, I have to go back one slide. This slide. So this slide will tell you various types of abstractions in the VLSI design flow: RTL model, gate level model, transistor model. So RTL model consists of VHDL or Verilog file in RTL domain, and gate level also it's a netlist.
Hello, sir. Doubt అర్థమైతలేదు.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Sir, there is a question, sir. How can we differentiate with simulation using Verilog HDL and VHDL, HVDL? That's the question they posed. Verilog HDL and VHDL, sir.
Yeah, VHDL, Verilog, both are in IEEE standard RTL, HDLs. You can use VHDL or Verilog. It is completely your own interest. European countries use VHDL, whereas Americans and Japanese use Verilog. Verilog is becoming more popular nowadays than the VHDL. Okay, you can use
Can
both.
I interrupt, sir? Can I?
Yeah.
Can I repost my? Sir, in a VLSI design process, for front-end design, we are using Verilog HDL or VHDL. The posted question is that how can we differentiate Verilog HDL or VHDL comparatively with our HVDL, sir? That is like system Verilog.
What do you mean by HVDL?
Yeah, so for a verification process of that is our content is the correct or incorrect by doing the simulation of content in VLSI flow.
Could you please elaborate what is HVDL? I'm not aware.
Yes, System Verilog. I saw in one of the website that System Verilog language is called as HVDL. It can be verification as well as design purpose they are using System Verilog.
Yes.
So they are calling as a HVDL, sir, probably in websites.
Okay.
So my question is, with respect to of a traditional way on our UZ candidates or PhD students, majorly they are depending on the Verilog HDL or VHDL for their project analysis in a VLSI process.
Correct.
So there is any possibility to incorporate the same content of whatever the list of requirements giving to the university standard using System Verilog? Can we do that design as well as verification using System Verilog, sir? I hope my question is clear.
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Simple
answer.
Sir, if that is my question is true, then what kind of tool we can use for the System Verilog design as well as System Verilog verification, so that we can use this formal verification, whatever your interesting topics are. It's very quite interesting, sir. So this will be useful in a System Verilog environment. That is my actual clarification.
Thank you. Sir. Yeah, let me answer this question.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Either use VHDL Verilog, it doesn't matter. If you want to use System Verilog, you have to know Verilog. So System Verilog improved version is Verilog's improved version is System Verilog. System Verilog also supports assertion-based verification. So assertions of formal verification as added into System Verilog. So whatever projects you want to you have been doing in VHDL or Verilog, all of them can be done in System Verilog without any problem. The tools that supports are ModelSim of Mentor Graphics and Questa Sim of Mentor Graphics will support 100% about the Oliver System Verilog and assertion based System Verilog SVA.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So this is first time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. For formal equivalence verification, this is the first type I am trying to explain to you. So what it does is it will compare to I was talking about this abstractions. Okay. abstraction, there are several abstractions of modeling in the VLSI design. RTL model, gate level model. So the input to the RTL model is HDL file. The output of RTL is nothing, synthesis process is nothing but your netlist. Whether these two are equivalent or not in all respects, that can be found out with the help of formal verification. Similarly, whatever inputs that you drive to the to the synthesis tool, the output of gate level model, these two can be verified very easily with the help of the input here, the output here, the input and the output. So these two can be easily verifiable with the help of the input and output. All these two are equivalent or not equivalent. That can be found out with the help of formal equivalency verification. So that is what this talks about. So this is, let us say, this is your design. A is your design. B is that is RTL RTL design, and B is your netlist. So these two, if you want to compare whether these two are equivalent or not, so all you have to do is use industry standard formal equivalency verification tool. It will tell you these two are equivalent or not. So this is simple design. Now let us take a complex design. So this is a complex design. It is highly mathematical, like I already mentioned. It will divide the bigger designs into smaller designs, like AC in the first case and BD in the second case. AC are a part of your design, and BD are part of your specifications. That is the verification. So whether these two are equivalent or not, these are netlists. These two are equivalent or not, A, B are already found out to be equivalent. So out of A and B, it will put only A into perspective, and it will take the outputs and it will apply to the C and D. That means what it did in this process is, it has eliminated A and B blocks from the computation. So it has divided the bigger problem into a smaller problem. Now the job of tool is only on C and D to be verified. So this way it will further divide the implementation into smaller blocks, and finally it will come to a conclusion saying that this first block and second block both are equivalent to each other. So this is the job of FEV, formal equivalency verification. So this is being completely followed in the industry. It is without this step, no chip is taped out. So how it does? So for example, the combination logic here, the combination logic here, the combination logic here, they are verified individually. If you see, all the circles in the red are equivalent. So that way it will try to match all these from one point to another point, and it will check each and every point in the netlist as well as the RTL, and it will say these two are matching or not matching. So the next one, it is sequential formal equivalence check. So the first diagram, second block, both are equivalent, but after some optimization. Obviously, the synthesis tool will introduce so many optimizations. All these optimizations, the formal verification tool knows mathematically, and these two are equivalent or not equivalent, it will try to give you an output. So we can confidently say that whatever netlist the synthesis tool has given is exactly matching with the RTL design that you have given to the synthesis tool. So this is also same thing. Specifications and implementation both are passed through XOR gate, and if there's different, you will get a 1 output. Otherwise, you get a 0. So this is the approach actually. Like I was mentioning about divide and conquer rule. So this is the complete scope here. This is the complete scope. So here all the inputs are there. So the outputs of this block is going to this block and this block. So this block, why I'm not taking into consideration is the outputs of this block will not affect this block. Mathematically, the tool concludes that statement. So it will eliminate from the cone, and it will only takes this into the consideration. Similarly, the output of these two things will be taken into consideration. This particular block will not be altered with these outputs, and that is the reason why it will go and check only this block. So this way it will come to a final output established in the final stage. So this is false negative. That was I was mentioning about how the false negatives will be established or used. If you see M1 and M2, these two are certainly not equal. One is here there is a XOR gate, there is a OR gate. There is XOR gate, there is a OR gate. These two are never equal because XOR gate takes large amount of transistors, whereas OR gate is NOR gate followed by inverter, takes small number of transistors. But since synthesis tool is intelligent enough, it knows the complete design into consideration. It has eliminated the XOR gate and given to OR gate. The reason for that is if you expand the scope of the tool from this box to this box, probably it will not say any error. But the scope is only the current M1, M2 blocks. That is the reason why there is a difference between one implementation to another implementation. So this is a problem with the tool. If the tool has taken only M1, M2 blocks into consideration, certainly it will throw you an error saying that these two are not in the not same. So we have to see with the correct way whether the false negatives are appearing or not appearing. So this is already explained. So next is where the problems can be there in the post and pre-synthesis simulations. They'll mismatch, obviously. In most of the cases, the formal verification tool will throw so many errors. So the common reasons where the errors will come. So an incomplete sensitivity list. So in this case, the formal verification tool will say it is passed, but if you run simulations before and after the synthesis process, there is a mismatch, and that mismatch is not justifiable because the tool is saying okay, but there is a mismatch. So we have to, as a designer, we have to see that those mismatches, the sensitivity list has complete information, complete signals, unwanted latch inferences. If you don't write else cases in the last if else branch, similarly all the cases of in a case statement, so there will be some latches will be inferred. All these latches will give you different results than the intended results. All these conditions will give you mismatches, and that is where the logic equivalence check will not be so dependable. It is not so dependable in these cases. So next comes the assertion based verification. This is where one of the question asked the answer you can make out more from this slides onwards. So assertion based verification, this is the third method in the sequence, assertion based verification. This is a more modern way because we are using the simulation environment, and also we are taking the betterment of what are the advantages of formal verification both into the consideration. That is where we are going for assertion based verification. So this is assertion based verification. So VHDL, Verilog, System Verilog, they have native support of some assertions, but those assertions are very small assertions, and that is the reason why the two languages have been proposed. One is PSL, Property Specification Language. This is slightly older language. The modified version is System Verilog assertions. That is what the topic of today. Okay, so System Verilog assertions also includes almost all the properties of PSL, right? And this SVA, System Verilog assertions, supported by industry IEEE. So that is a reason why all the EDA tools started supporting System Verilog assertions. So after that, so the design is constantly verified. So it is divided into smaller and smaller blocks, like I mentioned with the cone of confluence, and that is where the formal technology is very promising. So let us come to the System Verilog assertions. So this is a language which is a subset of System Verilog. System Verilog support is started with in 3 years. After that, 5, 9, 12. These are the years where System Verilog is part of. System Verilog assertions are part of System Verilog. So System Verilog is a bigger, and System Verilog assertions are a subset of System Verilog. So to answer your question, sir, if you know System Verilog along with System Verilog assertions, you can do design, you can do verification, you can do formal verification. All the three can be done with the help of System Verilog, complete System Verilog. Okay, the Model Sim and PestaSim tools will support fully all these languages. So this is test bench design can be done, test bench can be done, and assertions can be done all in one language. So native only one language. There are wide support of tools are there, and communication across teams. What was previously in this case? In this case is the verification engineer writes PSL and the design engineer writes VHDL or Verilog. So for them the communication becomes very problematic, and that is the reason why this is with the system Verilog and assertions. So the verification engineer and the designer, they all speak in the same language. So APIs are also not needed. And this is the biggest advantage of system Verilog assertion. It is gaining very large importance in the industry nowadays. So what are the different types of assertions? There are two types of assertions. One is immediate assertion. Next is concurrent assertion. So we'll see what is assertion in the next slide. So there are slightly advanced topics are also there: cover property, assume property, and they will also be explained. So what is an assertion? Assertion means a statement that is true. That is assertion. I'll say some statement that is a true statement about the design. So that is assertion. A statement of the expected behavior. Property expressed as temporal expression. Temporal is time dependent. Wherever timing is involved, so I'll express in terms of assertions. So then what is the use of this? If the assertion is failed for some condition, so the simulator will throw an error saying that this particular assertion is failed in the so and so cases, and it alerts the verification engineer, so that verification engineer can go back to the design engineer saying that in this, for this particular combination of inputs, the particular assertion is failed. So you can they can check their design. So what is the goal and final goal of this complete formal verification is assertion is you have to falsify the assertion. So the verification engineer writes so many assertions, and you have to come up with the cases where the assertion is failed. The number of failures, there is a possibility of finding more number of finding bugs. So what is the biggest advantage of this particular tool is it will provide you counter example. So where the assertion is failed, it will throw you a counter example why it has got failed. So with that you will get the idea about the bug nature. So next is assertion based verification and its suitability. So local signal, so where this is suitable, obviously, like already I have been highlighting all the advantages of formal verification and assertions, but it is not suitable, to tell you honestly, it is not suitable in all the cases. It is suitable only certain cases. Where it is suitable is local signal relations. So if there are a lot of control signals are involved, so that is where assertion based verification is the best. Okay, simple handshaking protocol. So we know handshaking protocols in a computer protocol, computer organization, etc., and state transition FSMs, and it is more it is best in unexpected cases and corner cases. So these corner cases and unexpected cases can be easily hit with the help of assertions. So these, to get the same effect with the simulation, you have to pinpoint the test vectors so that those errors are exposed. It is very difficult job. So the assertion based verification can do that very significantly. So next is control dominated, like all these examples. So we have seen in computer design, these are process design, these are the most possible blocks you encounter: instruction scheduler, pipeline controllers, protocols, arbiters, bus arbitration, etc. So all these cases it will simply excel. Okay, so improves observability. I have one slide about the observability. I'll explain there about what is observability, what is controllability. With that, how the assertion based verification improves the observability. Next is localization of errors. This is also very important. When I was preparing for this slide, I wanted to share one example that came to my mind. So localization of errors. The government of any country in around the world is doing localization of corona patients. So we are trying to isolate the patients. The same thing it does. Okay, localization of errors. So it try to isolate the errors and find out the reason for that error. So clock domain crossings also one of the area where it can be used. So I was talking about observability and controllability. So there is this comes in design for testability. So, but I'll explain. I'm not going to definitions. I will only explain the meaning. So there is some bigger design, but I want to control the node A. I want to set whatever data that I want, whatever the data I want to set in node A. It is not very easily possible because I have only 4 number of inputs and 4 number of outputs. Through these only 4 inputs, I should able to drive the node A with whatever data I want. Okay, so that is controllability. What is observability is, so whatever node I want to verify, that node I want to get it as the output. Again, outputs are only limited, 4 outputs are there, but there are so many thousands of nodes internally. So how do I observe those nodes? So controllability and observability, to increase the controllability, this is what we have to do. We have to put a mux. The mux purpose is not to change the functionality. It will only increases the controllability. And to increase the observability, I have to put one D flip-flop. So the data is stored here, and whatever data I want to read, I can read it from the D flip-flop. So now, how the simulation increases the controllability. Simulation means traditional method. Traditional method scores here. Traditional method scores here, and formal verification scores here. Okay. So why? Because I am driving test vectors. So by using proper test vectors, I can somehow manage to set whatever data I want to set in node A. Okay. Formal verification doesn't give any test vector. So controllability is no question for controllability for formal verification. But how it is increasing observability is, so I will write assertions. Whenever there is a failure of some assertion, I will monitor. So assertions will stay here at this area in between the design. So whenever assertion is failure or passed assertion, so I'll get a notification to the console. And that is the reason why observability increases in formal verification and controllability improves in a simulation. That is what I want to try explain in this slide. Any questions, please? So I'm going to the straight now, system Verilog assertions. This is the language. Now I'm in, yeah.
Hello, sir. There is a question from K. Prasad Babu. Okay. How can we relate system Verilog with OVM/UVM?
That is a bigger, an extension of this actually. It is a bigger concept. We better discuss offline. It is an extension topic today. Okay, so immediate and combinational assertions. So next is, there are 2 types of assertions. One is immediate assertion, next is combinational assertion. Immediate assertion is, it will run only once whenever the control goes to that particular statement. So combinational assertion, it will be always running in the background. So there is a timing information associated with the combinational assertion, but no timing information is associated with the immediate assertion. So let us see assert AB. So this assert AB, assert A equal to B. So this is one true statement. For me, A equal to B must be true always. So there are 4 cases here. And first case is, I'll explain first case, assert A equal to B, display A equal to B. So this assertion statement I can insert anywhere. The good thing about this assertion is I can write in HDL file, that is RTL file. I can write in test bench. I can write as a separate file. All the 3 cases are possible. So whenever I write this assert statement in the HDL, let us say, so it will display whenever A equals to B, certainly this will display a message. So this is a pass statement. So this is pass statement and fail statement, both are there here. So whenever A equal to B, it displays A equal to B. Otherwise, it says it is gone wrong. Whatever message you want to flash, it will flash. So that means you can monitor the signal during the running. So that is what I will explain. I was explaining here. So observability increases here. So in between, if you write one assertion here, so that assertion will give you data, that will give you data to the console. What is happening inside the design? So normal simulation will not be able to do that. So with the help of assertions, you will be able to do that. So next is third case. This is most widely used, third one. So I don't have to see what is passed. I am more interested in the bugs, right? So I have to see when it is going wrong. So if A is not equal to B, certainly I'll get an error message. So the fourth one is also equally useful, because I don't have to write any error message. Automatically, the tool itself will generate one default message. If I don't want any known message, so tool itself will show you whenever this assertion statement is failed. It will certainly give you the counter example also. So the severity levels, I've given error here. So similarly, fatal, error, warning, and info, any of this information can be thrown by the simulator depending on my requirement. So this is one simple assertion: data equal to correct data, else memory read error. So this is one complete assertion. This is read check is the name of the assertion. Assert is the keyword. If data is equal to correct data, there is no problem. If that is not equal, so I'll get a error message. So there is a second assertion example. So MGT 10, assert M is greater than 10, else warning, M has exceeded 10. So here also I'll get a warning whenever M is greater than 10. So the third case, if you see more functionality is improved here. If A equal to B, I am also doing not only flashing error, I am also doing some processing. So between begin and error, and you can add any number of instructions, whatever job you want to do, you can do that job whenever this assertion is failed. So that way the flexibility is there. So there are several layers of assertions. So I'll show all the programs related to this. So the bottom layer is Boolean expressions. Next comes the sequences. Next come the properties. Next comes the assertion statements. So we will see one after the other. So next is concurrent assertions. Before going to the concurrent assertions, I'll just ask one, if there are any questions pending, let me answer. If I'm able to see chart, it will be better.
Sir,
Yeah. Any questions, please, Pawan?
sir, yes, sir, there is a question, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Sir, in which among full custom, semi-custom, and standard cell-based design, formal verification useful more? Sir, in which among full custom, semi-custom, and standard cell-based design, formal verification useful more? That is the question from K. Prasad Babu.
Okay, I'll answer this way. Actually, in which design are we going for full custom, standard seller, whatever type of design? It is most possible, most effective in these cases. Sorry, not that. If you are applying for some protocols, are there instruction schedules, are there controllers, are there arbiters in your design? There are large amount of control signals. All these cases, certainly, whatever may be the design, okay, so it will be helpful. In the case of full custom design, everything is written from the scratch. Okay, we'll develop everything from the scratch. In that case, the design details are more, but all these protocols, the signals will have to be anyway. They have to exchange information. So whenever signals exchange information, there is opportunity for formal verification tool to find the bugs. So you will see some example whenever I give demo. You can very easily see in which situations it is useful. To answer your question, whatever may be the situation, if there are control intensive information is there, so that is where the formal verification is applicable. Whenever data intensive is there, lot of data transfers, data computations are there, certainly there this formal verification will not be so successful.
Sir, one more question from D. Surendra Rao, sir. Why FPGA emulation is so prominent in front-end design?
FPGA emulation
is so prominent in front-end design?
Yeah, for actually FPGA, most of the FPGAs now currently available in the market are reprogrammable. We use mostly current leader is Xilinx. It is a reprogrammable, but whereas ASIC is one-time programmable. So once I made ASIC application specific integrated circuit, and I found out any bugs, certainly the IC is not useful. I have to throw it out. But FPGA, since it is reprogrammable, I can completely test out using the FPGA using FPGA design. and once it is running properly, correct, and then only I can go for ASIC verification, ASIC design. So that way FPGA will work as a standalone process for us, and also it will, since it is a hardware process, it will improve the speed. Normal simulation on Model Sim or Questa Sim or Vivado softwares, it takes years. It takes lot amount of time. But since FPGA is hardware, it takes reasonably less amount of time, but it is not as fast as the real life ASIC. So that is the drawback with the FPGA. Okay, so we are 5 to 6. Let me explain this language. So this is concurrent process. In the concurrent, there is something called property. This property will tell you it is a concurrent process. If property is missing, this becomes immediate process, immediate assertion. So immediate runs only once, whereas concurrent process will run throughout the simulation. For example, read and write signal should never be asserted together. So this kind of situation can come in standard cell or any type of design. So that is the reason why wherever there is an exchange of information, lot of signals are exchanged, like handshake protocol, etc. So like read and write signals should never be asserted together. So if you give this to the formal verification tool, it will check for all the cases of inputs, all the possible cases of inputs, and wherever this property is failed, it will throw an error counter example where this particular read write signals are not done together. So that is the a good thing about this thing. So next is second one, a request should be followed by an acknowledgement occurring no more than 2 clocks after the request is asserted. So if I want to test this, certainly this is the method. So I have to write this property. So this is syntax of this particular SVA language, system Verilog assertions, and this is one sequence. Request is one sequence, and this is another sequence. These two sequences, this is operator, in between operator, and passage clock. Whenever passage comes, request is whenever request comes, so this sequence must be true. Whenever this entire assertion is true, then the request ACK is passed, otherwise it is failed. Whenever fail is received, so it will show you an error message where the particular sequence has been failed. So this is overlapped operator. I'll explain during the lab, actually, during the lab demo. I'll just skip. Yeah. So I was talking about various layers. So this is Boolean layer, sequence layer, properties, and assertion. These are the four layers. So just see the same expression at the bottom in the yellow color background. This is one complete assertion. So the same assertion can be written in split into several ways. So there is one sequence called request. There is another sequence called this sharp 1 to 2 acknowledgement. So there is a property and there is an assertion. So now I am splitting this complete assertion into 3 parts. Okay, sequence is there, 2 sequences are there, 1 property is there. Now my assertion becomes very simple. I just write the handshake in place of this complete property. Okay, so this way there is a flexibility. I can use many sequences, I can generate many sequences, I can write many properties, I can write many assertions based on this request and acknowledge. So these are different ways to clock. This is not very important. So this I'll explain in the lab session. Next is this is operators. So sharp will tell you delay. So for example, consecutive cycles. Once I give request, the acknowledgement should come after 2 cycles. So then sharp will be useful. So if I give once request is there, acknowledgement should come continuously for 2 more clock cycles, then star will come. So dollar will tell you it is an infinite time, but it is some limited bounded range. So this is also I'll explain in the lab explanation. So let me see whether explain one simple assertion. This is operator. So this is overlapped operator. This is non-overlapped operator. I'm trying to give with the help of an example. So this is overlapped operator. Cat, overlapping operator, dog. So this is the time ticks. So there is a cat and dog. So that is the reason why in the first clock cycle, the assertion is true. In the second clock cycle, cat and dog is there. Still there is second, here also it is true. In the third cycle, there is no cat and only dog. Still it is true because cat is not enabled. Cat is not there. So if something in the left-hand side sequence is not received, so certainly automatically it is eligible for pass case. So in the second case, it is also pass because it is a dog. So there is no cat here. That is the meaning. All the four cases, the assertion will pass. In the second case, for example, there is a dog here. There is a cat here. So dog means it is pass case. There is a cat here. So cat must be followed by a dog. So in the same cycle, and that is the reason why it is failing here. It is in the same cycle. There is no dog here. And if you see in the previous case, in the same cycle, there is a dog. So that is the reason why this is a fail. So this is a dog here. So there is no cat. That means it's a failure. Both are there. So it's a pass. So I'll explain only this only one assertion. Cat delayed by one dog. This is one sequence and given to mouse. Okay. So this is overlapping sequence. Non-overlapping sequence. So in the first case, there is a cat and followed by cat. So there is cat is there followed by dog. This is all true for all the cases because so delayed by one dog, this sequence is not there. Let me explain in the lab session. Okay, so this is the property clock 1 not signal 1. So this is one property how this is represented in waveforms. So whenever at this clock at this tick, so this point onwards it will verified just one clock before, just time before this end of the clock. At this clock signal equal to high, so that signal is high and that is the reason why this is 0 here. At this point, even though signal 1 is high, but just before this clock ends it was low and that is the reason why this is true case. At this case, just before the clock ends, the signal is high, and that is the reason why this is false. So here just before the clock ends, the signal is low and that is the reason why this is true. So whenever, so this assertion is there, so this is pass cases. Whenever signal 1 off is high, this is pass case, and whenever this is low, this is fail case. So this is how it is for. I'll skip this. I'll skip this also. Yeah, next is coverage statements. So there is something called coverage. So coverage will tell you how many times pass has occurred, how many times fail has occurred. That will be given by the coverage. Okay, there is something called cover keyword. With the help of cover keyword, we can come to know functionality in more detail. Okay, that is slightly advanced nature. So next is assertion system functions. Rows enable stable. This will talk about whether the signal is rising and changing in between, whether the signal is stable. Okay, this is asynchronous reset. I'll explain in the programs. So next is binding. I was talking about this while explaining types of system Verilog assertions. So for example, the designer don't want to disturb his RTL code. So there is a way to write all these assertions in a separate file. We can bind assertions and the design with the help of this bind keyword. So that is the job of this. I'll skip this. So where formal verification is not suitable, this is where the formal verification is not suitable. Detecting data transfers and computations. So wherever data transfer cases and computations are there, large heavy cases, so formal verification is certainly not useful. Too much of past values. Let us say I want to compare this value with the 10 cycles previous value. It has to remember all the 10 clock cycles values. In that case, memory requirements will be zoomed out, and that is the reason why it is not useful. So next is, if the DUT is complex and property itself is complex, then formal verification is not so effective. This works on the basis of heuristic, trial and error. So that is the reason why. So there is a large amount of memory and large amount of time is required to come the counter example. So there is something called over constrained and under constrained. So here also there are false positives and false negatives. For example, if there are large amount of data cases are there, but I want to consider only small subset of that input combinations with the help of assumptions. So certainly false positives will come. But if I too much constraints are given, then false negatives will come. So this is also inherent problem with the formal verification. So one more challenge is diminishing returns. Initially, the finding bugs becomes very easy, but later on finding coming bugs becomes very difficult to find. So this is the concluding remarks. Before that, I want to give a small demo of the lab if participant says okay. Let me just ask participants if you can spend 10 more minutes, bear 10 more minutes with me, and I can explain the lab, 1 or 2 labs. If you just say okay in the chat box. Pawan, pass the information, please.
Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay.
So many members are responding, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Let us go to the lab. The skipped things, whatever I skipped, those things, those equations, I mean, those syntax will come in the lab also. But let me just see if the screen is shared. My screen is shared for the lab session. So first demo, is screen visible, Pawan?
It is visible, sir. Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So there is I've taken Model Sim software simulator. It supports system Verilog assertions, the complete system Verilog, modern, all the things it supports. And what I've done is I've taken one small example. So in this example, there is one small assertion, first immediate assertion. That means it will run only once. So since it runs only once, I have to put into the always block so that it runs forever. Okay, as long as I'm running simulation. So what this says is, so this is the assert statement. Grant and request must come at the same time. Grant and request must come at the same time. But whenever grant equal to 1, so grant and request, grant must come along with the request. That is the assertion. So whenever that assertion is true, it will say passed. Otherwise, it will say it is failed. So for that, I am writing some request grant signals. Initially, request is made 1. After that, 4 nanoseconds, grant is made 1. After that, 4 more nanoseconds, request is made 0. And I am running 12 nanoseconds. And after that, I am stopping the simulation. So there is one assertion. This is the pass statement, and this is the fail statement. Pass statement says it is working as expected. Fail statement says it is not working. So here in this process, I am putting the assertion into the design itself. So this, if RTL engineer allows you to write assertions into the same RTL design, so then it is okay. Otherwise, we have a way we can write it separately also. Sometimes RTL engineers also want to set up some assertions to see quick assertions. They also can set up these assertions immediately. So already I run this. So I just run this already run tool. Okay. So I'll just simulate this, compile, selected. Okay. So I just simulated. After that, sorry, compiled, sorry. I just simulate that. Simulate, start simulation. Whatever simulated files, see, just it is .sv file. .sv means system Verilog file. This is .sv file, system Verilog. Most of the constructs are similar to Verilog, nothing to worry. Only some object-oriented programming, which is especially used for testing verification purpose they have improved it. Otherwise, design constructs are almost same. So assert immediate, I'll select that because it is added to the work library. I remove the enables, optimization. So I'll run it. So all these signals, those who have done Verilog, VHDL or Verilog labs in the final year or third year, you feel it familiar. So I'll add all the signals to wave window, add to wave window, select in the region. And there is something called, so these are added to the wave window. And there is something called list window, add to list window. List is another type of representation. It will show in terms of this representation. There is something called assertion. So I already enabled assertion. I'll show you where this is. Which view coverage assertions. By enabling this, you will get this. So I've written one assertion in the main file. So this is one assertion. So it will show you an assertion. I can add that assertion onto also to the wave window. I have added that assertions to the wave window. So what this consists of now, all the signals in the design, there is a grant, there is a request. I'll put grant first, request first, then grant. And after that, timer 1, timer 2, and this is the assertion. Okay. Now I run the simulation for maximum amount of time. Run minus all is the command. So I run it. I'll not stop it. So I'll just see what is there in the wave window. So F for full wave, full screen. So just see here. So the good thing about this tool, this assertion is wherever this red triangle is there, that is where the assertion is failed. Okay. So if I select this time and change to decimal, so see here at 9, at 11, the 9 is 9 there, 11 is there. At 13 nanoseconds, it is failed. At 50 nanoseconds, it is failed. But it is not failed. Let us see what is the transcript window says. Just see here, working as expected at 9 and 11. Okay, so that means this is executed during 9 and 11. This is executed at 9 and 11. It is not, this assertion is true, and remaining times whatever this assertion is false. So I will come to know very easily wherever that assertion is failed. So we can easily analyze now why the assertion is failed. So why the assertion is failed can be easily seen here. So what is the assertion statement that I mentioned? So here, request and grant. There is a request 0 at this point and grant is 1. So that should not happen as per my assertion. Request and grant must come at the same time whenever grant equal to 1. So grant equal to 1, and that time request is 0, and that is the reason why this is failed. So in the case of here, why 9 at the 9, why it is passed? If you see, there is a request is 1 and grant is equal to 1. Both are 1, and that is the reason why at 9 nanoseconds, similarly at 11 nanoseconds, request and grant are 1. So it is passed. It is passed here. All other cases it is failed. So the designer gets the insight under what conditions this is failed. Okay, you can go back to his design and change the design, and very good indication is that these triangles, all the places where it is throwing the error. So this is a very simple demo where so many things to be learned. But so here this particular assertion is the immediate assertion because there is no property. If this is made property, this keyword is added, certainly it is going to be combinational. So this is only immediate assertion, but immediate assertion will run only once. I put into the always statement. This is the pass statement. This is the fail statement. Both the statements are there, and this is the name of the assertion. And I'm running in a clock. So this is one first demo I wanted to give. So the next demo. Any questions in the first demo, please? Any questions in the first demo, please? I'm a bit faster. Pawan, is it okay? Can I proceed?
Yes, sir. There are no doubts till now.
Okay.
No questions, sir. You can proceed.
I'll go to the second demo. It is slightly more informative than the first demo. I'll use the second type of assertion here. So this is concurrent assertion. Just see, this is concurrent assertion, and this is one sequence. Sequence is one layer in assertions. So this is one sequence, and this is property, and this is assertion. All the layers are there. So in this sequence layer, a sequence assertion, I'm using the Boolean layer also. So what it says is file. Let me explain the assertion. Sorry, let me explain the design first. This is the design. So once the request is there in the next clock cycle, I will get the grant. Once the request is there in the next clock cycle, I will get the grant. This is always this is the design. For this, I am writing assertions. What the assertion says: if request is 0 and grant comes in the same cycle, and in the next cycle request must be 0 and grant must be 0. That means request and grant, if request is 0, if request is given, I'll give this. If request is given, grant must be there in the next cycle, and as soon as request is going low, and the grant also must go low. I'll explain again. If request is asserted, grant must come in the next cycle. If request goes low, grant also must go in the low in the next cycle. So this is the assertion, the meaning of this entire assertion. Okay, let us just simulate that. I'll simulate that. For this simulation, I've written one small test bench. Start simulation. I'll run this. I'll compile everything, and after that, I'll simulate. So I have to run the test bench now, not the design file, because test bench is the top layer wrapper around the design. So I have to, whenever test bench and all the design files are there, I have to run the test bench. So similar to previously, I have to add all the waveforms and all the assertions to the wave window. So I'll add all the waveforms to the wave window, and I'll add assertions to the wave window. I'll add assertions. There is only one assertion. Okay, and now I'll run for all the possible cases. Run minus all. I'll not stop. I'll just see assertion failed. So these are the messages I'm getting, and I can see the reasons why assertion is failed. Full screen. So see here, request is there, followed by immediately grant is generated, and request came low, and grant also came low. So this is where the assertion is passed. So there is no error, no triangle. Okay. Here the assertion is failed because it is taking the continuous sequence. So the grant is not becoming 0 after request. Request, it is continuously there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 assertions are failed at this time, and that is what you will see in the assertion failure. So you can always go back to the design and check the errors. And the third lab I want to show you is So this is if else assertion. I'll not run this, I'll just explain this. So there is assertion, if else false. So if else, this is property, but this property within this property, the good thing about this, I am able to write if else statement. If check equal to 1, I am writing delay 1. If check equal to 0, I am writing delay 2. What the delay 1, delay 2 says, just if you see here, delay 1, delay 2. So delay 1 is request, after request, grant should come after 1 clock cycle. This is the property. In the delay 2, request, once the request is there, grant must come after 2 clock cycles. Okay, that is the delay 2. So I can change this property, or I can choose this property or this property in real time by changing the check value. So check value is input to me. Okay, so check value is, here I am driving 1. Whatever check value that I want to drive, I can drive. In the first case, it will check for this case. In the second case, check 1. In the first case, this is check for this delay 1, and second case, it will check for delay 2. So I'm not running this. So last demo I am going to give is this one. So here there are 4 files. So this is the design. This is the design file. This is the design file. Sorry, this is not the design file. So this is the design file. So request, once the request is there, grant is given after 1 clock cycle. This is the design. Okay. The same test bench, whatever we have run, same assertions, the same assertions. Sorry. Assertions. So the same assertions that we have run in the lab, second experiment, everything is written in a separate file now. Okay. So that what happens is this particular design is completely free now. This complete assertion, this design is completely free of verification. So this is done, this is edited by only the designer, and the verification engineer is verifying that particular system verilog file. So both are binded with the help of this particular binding module. So everything is binded together with the help of this bind keyword, so that design engineer and verification engineer can work independently. Whenever needed, only then they can bind together. So this is the good thing about this. So this can be run like this. So I'll run everything. Okay, let's leave it. There is some error. So let me come to the conclusion, because I'm little faster. It's already 6:10. So the last slide I'll share with you. So test bench is good for controllability. That is what I already demonstrated there. Because we have control on the type of inputs that we can give. Test bench is traditional method, whereas formal verification doesn't give any test vectors, and that is the reason why it is good for observability. Controllability, if you want, then test bench. Observability, if you want, you can go for formal verification. Assertions improve observability. Formal verification, already explained. Complementary to dynamic simulation. So formal verification will not completely replace dynamic simulation. Both will be there, but both are part of the verification cycle. System verilog assertions, designer and validator can speak in the same language. If you know system verilog complete specification, then you can design, you can write test benches, you can write assertions. So everything can be done in one single standard. Successful with unified tool support, because all of them are IEEE standards, and many tools are commercial tools are available for this SVA. The more assertions, the better. The simple rule is you have to write more rules, more assertions you have to write, so that you will find a more number of bugs. Next is simple versus complex assertions versus catching complex bugs. So is assertion should be complex or simple. So it is not that complex assertions will find complex bugs. No, simple assertions can also find, for example, request and acknowledgement should not come at the same cycle. That is one simple assertion. This can find so many bugs actually in a real situation. So complex assertions can also be used to find the bugs. Next is heuristics and quantification is in meaningful terms. So what is the problem is it is working on a mathematical tool. It will generate too many test vectors internally. So if the number of combinations are too many, so it will take large amount of time to come out of to find an error, to find the counter example. So it may hang. Actually, the rule based. I worked in one of the formal verification tool. So if the design is complex and assertion is also complex, if both of them are complex, so most of the time tool will hang. That is the problem some time back, some 10-15 years back. Maybe it is improved now. So next is here also there are false positives and false negatives. This is the problem here. So what is the conclusion here is it will explode if the number of combinations are too high. But designers like it because they are getting the counter examples where the design fails. So that important information of counter example is the key for success for this success of formal verification. I'm done. If there are any questions, please ask now because time was short to answer all during the course. If you can enable mic, Pawan, for everybody.
Yes, sir. I will do so. Yes, sir. Now the mic is open for everyone. They can unmute themselves and they can ask the question.
Okay.
And one more thing, sir. I in the chat box I posted the feedback form. Please fill out the feedback form. Please provide your valuable feedback. And it's time for any queries.
Thank you. I have to thank my head of the department, EC of GP Loretti Engineering College, and all the department colleagues, especially Pawan Kumar, my young colleague. He helped me a lot. So I thank Pawan also. I thank you all for your patience listening.
Sir, one last question, sir. Someone asked that suggest some textbook for System Verilog.
System Verilog. Yeah, one more thing. I have to thank one more person actually. I have taken these examples from Sandeep Kumar Tala. One website is there. He maintains ASIC World website. There are good examples out there. So System Verilog, there is Pierce. There is Pierce. I think there is System Verilog book is there. If there is anything available, I'll forward via emails that are available. If you can send me an email. Thank you.
Sir, I will post your mail ID in chat box, sir. They will contact you in person if they want.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more queries?
Hello, ma'am. I can't find the feedback link, ma'am.
Madam.
I posted that in chat box. Okay, otherwise I will send you the mail to everyone.
Hello.
Please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm very thankful to my sir, Tamireddy sir. Excellent informative information you already gave me. So I'm very thankful to you and your all staff members, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was. I know it was very at faster pace. Actually, I should have reduced the number of slides. So I had to run faster. I know it was faster.
No, sir. Nothing. Excellent, sir. Excellent. Your total session is excellent, sir. Excellent, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, okay. Thank you, everyone.
Ma'am, please send the feedback link, ma'am.